The mind is its own fortress in the deepest watches of night, when sleep eludes you and thoughts spiral without end. Remember this truth. The mind is its own fortress. I have witnessed this from the heights of imperial power and in the depths of personal loss. The struggles you face today are not unique to our time. They are the eternal dance of human existence. Picture yourself standing at the edge of dawn, as I once did before the great armies of Rome. The weight of empire pressed upon my shoulders, yet it was not the barbarian hordes that threatened my peace. It was my own thoughts of what might come to pass. In those moments, I discovered a power greater than legions, the strength of a disciplined mind. You wake each morning to a battlefield of your own, perhaps not of clashing swords and thundering hooves, but of deadlines that loom like storm clouds, of relationships that strain like overtaxed bridges, of ambitions that burn like fever in your blood. You feel the crush of expectations from others, from yourself, bearing down with the weight of mountains. But consider this. What if the very pressure you feel is not your enemy, but your ally? What if each challenge that rises before you is not an obstacle to be cursed, but a teacher bearing gifts of wisdom? I tell you now, as one who has commanded armies and governed an empire, true power lies not in controlling the world outside, but in mastering the realm within. The mind, when properly trained, becomes an impregnable fortress. No external force, no loss, no betrayal, no twist of fate can breach its walls without your consent. Think of the oak tree that has weathered 1,000 storms. It stands not because it fought against every wind, but because it learned to bend without breaking. Its strength lies not in resistance, but in resilience. So too must you learn to cultivate this inner resilience. Each morning you have a choice. You can face the day as a victim of circumstance, buffeted by every wind of fortune, or you can stand as the emperor of your own thoughts, the sovereign of your own reactions. The world will present its challenges regardless of your choice, but your response to these challenges, that is the territory over which you hold absolute dominion. I have seen men in golden palaces tormented by their own minds, while others find peace in the midst of poverty. I have watched mighty generals crumble under the weight of their fears, while simple soldiers face death with tranquil hearts. The difference lies not in their circumstances, but in their understanding of this fundamental truth. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. As we begin this journey together, I ask you to consider, what battles are you fighting that exist only in your mind? What armies of anxiety do you feed with your own thoughts? What sieges of stress do you maintain with your own beliefs? The path I will show you is not one of escape from life's challenges. Rather, it is a path of transformation, a way to meet each challenge with the calm certainty of one who understands that external events hold no power over the fortress of a well-ordered mind. Remember, you are not here to control the uncontrollable. You are here to master yourself. This is the first principle, the foundation upon which all else will be built. The world may shake, empires may fall, but the mind that knows itself as its own fortress remains unassailable. Let us begin with this understanding. Your mind is not just a fortress. It is your fortress. And in the chapters that follow, I will teach you how to strengthen its walls, stock its provisions, and maintain its defenses against any siege that life may lay upon it. Morning. Begin with clarity, not complaint. The hour before dawn holds a power that few understand. In these quiet moments, before the world demands your attention, you have the opportunity to forge your mind into an unshakable instrument. I speak, not from theory, but from decades of practice, both as a student of wisdom and as an emperor who faced each dawn knowing that thousands of lives depended upon my judgment. Picture yourself in these precious morning moments. The world sleeps, but you rise with purpose. The darkness still holds sway, but you know the light approaches. This is your time of power, your opportunity to prepare yourself for whatever the day may bring. Most men stumble into their days like drunk soldiers into battle, unprepared, unfocused, already defeated by their own thoughts. They wake to the harsh cry of alarms and immediately begin a litany of complaints about the early hour, about their responsibilities, about the weight of their duties. But you will learn a better way. When you first open your eyes, remain still. Feel the weight of your body against your bed. Notice your breath, how it flows in and out without any effort on your part. This simple act of attention is your first victory of the day. You are alive, conscious, capable of choice. This alone is worthy of gratitude, not complaint. Now, before your feet touch the floor, consider this truth. Nothing that will happen today can harm the essence of who you are. Your reputation may be attacked, your plans may be thwarted, your body may face discomfort, but your character, your inner citadel, remains inviolate unless you yourself choose to compromise it. Rise slowly with dignity. This is not mere ceremony. It is a declaration to yourself. You are not rushing to meet the demands of others. You are rising to meet your own highest purpose. Even if duties await, even if others depend upon you, this moment belongs to the cultivation of your mind. Find a quiet place. It need not be grand. I often took these morning moments in military tents, in simple rooms, wherever duty placed me. The location matters less than the intention you bring to it. Sit upright, like a ruler on their throne. This is your first audience of the day, and it is with yourself. Now, consider the day ahead. What challenges await you? Name them clearly in your mind without embellishment or drama. See them for what they are, not burdens but opportunities to demonstrate wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. These virtues grow stronger only when tested. If you feel anxiety rising about the tasks ahead, examine it closely. What do you fear? Loss of status? Physical discomfort? The disapproval of others? Remember, these are all externals, beyond your true control. Your only responsibility is to meet them with your best judgment and righteous action. Before you engage with any other mind today, set your own mind in proper order. Remind yourself, you cannot control what others will do or say. You cannot control the weather, the markets, the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. But you can control your response to all these things. This morning practice is not meditation for meditation's sake. It is preparation for battle, not with others, but with the challenges that would disturb your inner peace. Like a general inspecting his troops before a combat, you are reviewing your mental defenses, strengthening your philosophical resolve. Remember, the quality of your day is not determined by what happens to you, but by how you respond to what happens. Begin with clarity, and you will meet each moment with wisdom. Begin with complaint, and you surrender before the battle has even begun. Let this be your morning mantra. I cannot choose what happens today, but I can choose who I am as I meet it. This is not positive thinking. It is practical wisdom, tested across centuries, proven in the crucible of real human experience. Rise now, clear-minded warrior of your own soul. The day awaits. The wheel turns. Accepting fortune's nature. Consider the great wheel of fortune, ever turning, indifferent to our desires. I have watched it lift men to unprecedented heights and cast them into the depths of despair, sometimes within the span of a single day. As emperor, I witness this dance of fate daily, seeing how the same events that brought joy to some brought sorrow to others. Picture yourself standing beside me in the Roman Forum, watching the endless flow of life. Merchants celebrate unexpected profits while others mourn their losses. Generals return in triumph while others retreat in defeat. The wheel turns and turns again, paying no heed to our preferences or prayers. You resist this truth. I see it in your clenched jaw, your tight fists, your desperate attempts to control what cannot be controlled, how much of your suffering comes not from events themselves, but from your quarrel with reality. You rage against the rain for falling, against time for passing, against others for being who they are. Let me share with you a truth that took me years to grasp. Fortune's nature is to change. This is not a tragedy to be lamented, but a reality to be embraced. The river flows, the seasons change, empires rise and fall. This is the natural order of things. Your resistance to this truth is the source of your torment. When you wake to find your carefully laid plans in ruins, remember, this too is part of nature's dance. When unexpected success falls into your lap, remember, this too shall pass. Neither grasp nor reject, simply observe the turning of the wheel with the calm detachment of one who understands its nature. I have seen men destroy themselves trying to hold on to power that fortune had already decreed must pass from their hands. I have watched others poison their moments of triumph with anxiety about its inevitable end. Both positions reveal a fundamental misunderstanding of life's nature. Think of the seasons. Does winter rage against spring's arrival? Does summer grasp desperately at its fading warmth as autumn approaches? Each season comes and goes in its appointed time, playing its necessary part in the greater cycle. Your fortunes, too, will rise and fall with similar necessity. But here is where your power lies. While you cannot control the turning of the wheel, you can control your response to its movement. When fortune smiles, enjoy it without attachment. When it frowns, endure it without complaint. Your true strength lies not in your ability to influence external events, but in your ability to maintain your equilibrium, regardless of where the wheel's turning takes you. Consider how many empires have risen and fallen while the sun continues its daily journey across the sky. Consider how many fortunes have been made and lost while the tides continue their eternal dance. Nature's great wheels turn regardless of our mortal concerns. Is this not a lesson in perspective? The wise person understands that to rail against fortune's nature is as futile as commanding the tide to stop. Instead, they learn to move with its rhythms, finding opportunities in its changes, wisdom in its reversals. They neither exult in success nor despair in failure, knowing that both are temporary stations on fortune's wheel. Remember, your true worth lies not in what fortune brings or takes away, but in how you bear yourself in each moment of the wheel's turning. Can you maintain your integrity in success, your dignity in failure, your composure in sudden change? These are the true measures of a philosopher's soul. Let others exhaust themselves trying to predict fortune's next turn or lamenting its current position. You have a nobler task: to stand steady within yourself, accepting what comes with grace, meeting what leaves with equanimity. This is not resignation, it is freedom. The wheel turns, friend. Let it turn. Your kingdom is not in controlling its motion, but in maintaining your center as it moves. What stands in your way becomes the way. Imagine yourself facing a great wall that blocks your path. Your instinct tells you to turn back, to find an easier route, to curse the obstacle before you. But I tell you now, as one who has faced the seemingly insurmountable, that very wall you wish would vanish is your opportunity for transformation. In my years as emperor, I encountered obstacles that would have paralyzed a lesser mind. Plague ravaging our cities, betrayal from trusted advisors, wars erupting at the empire's edges. Each crisis appeared as an impassable barrier. Yet each became the very means by which wisdom was gained and strength was forged. Consider the nature of fire. What happens when you cast an obstacle in its path? The fire does not stop. It transforms the obstacle into fuel for its own growth. This is the secret I wish to impart to you. Every impediment to action can become an aid to action if you possess the wisdom to see it so. You face problems at work that seem to block all progress. Your relationships present conflicts that appear to have no resolution. Your own mind raises doubts that feel like chains upon your potential. But I ask you, What if these very difficulties are not walls, but doorways? What if they are not your destruction, but your opportunity for distinction? Think of the athlete who faces the resistance of weights. It is precisely this resistance that builds their strength. Without the obstacle, there would be no growth. The sword is sharpened by grinding against stone. The pearl is formed by the oyster's response to irritation. Your character, too, is formed not in spite of obstacles, but because of them. When you encounter opposition, train yourself to think differently. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask instead, "How is this happening for me?" This is not mere wordplay. It is a fundamental shift in how you engage with life's challenges. Every obstacle presents a chance to practice virtue, to demonstrate wisdom, to become stronger than you were before. I have seen men crumble before challenges that would have made them great, had they but understood this principle. The very thing they feared, avoided, and resented could have been the making of them. Do not make this same mistake. When life presents you with difficulty, stand firm in this knowledge. The obstacle is not in your way, it is your way. Consider how many of history's greatest achievements came about precisely because of, not in spite of, the obstacles faced. Great innovations are born from pressing problems. Leadership emerges in crisis. Courage manifests only in the face of fear. Without the obstacle, the virtue remains dormant, untested, theoretical. You must learn to welcome resistance as a teacher. When plans fail, when opposition rises, when difficulty presents itself, these are not interruptions of your path. They are the path. Each obstacle is an opportunity to practice what you have learned, to demonstrate what you understand, to become who you are capable of being. But remember, this is not about blind optimism or denying the reality of hardship. It is about seeing clearly that the obstacle itself contains the means for its own transformation. Like water meeting a boulder in its path, you must not simply stop or retreat. You must flow around, wear away, or rise above. The obstacle dictates the strategy. The strategy becomes the solution. When you face your next challenge, be it small or significant, pause before reacting. Look carefully at what stands in your way. Ask yourself, how can this obstacle serve my growth? What virtue can I practice in facing it? What strength might I develop in overcoming it? This is the mindset that turns barriers into bridges, problems into possibilities. Let others shrink from difficulty. Let them seek the easy path, the smooth road, the unobstructed way. You know better now. You understand that what stands in your way is not your enemy. It is your ally in disguise. Embrace it, use it, transform it. This is the way of the philosopher-emperor, the way of the wise. Remember, the obstacle is the way. Now go forth and prove it. Guard your inner citadel. Deep within you lies a fortress that no external force can breach, unless you yourself leave the gates unguarded. I speak of your inner citadel, that sacred space where your judgments are made, where your values reside, where your true self holds sovereign authority. As emperor, I commanded legions, but this inner fortress proved more vital than any physical stronghold. Picture yourself standing atop the walls of this internal castle. From here, you can observe the armies that gather to assault your peace. Anxiety about the future, regret about the past, anger at those who wrong you, fear of loss, desire for recognition. They mass at your gates, demanding entry. But remember, they can only enter if you grant them passage. Many live their entire lives with their inner gates thrown wide open, allowing every passing thought, every external event, every opinion of others to march straight into their mental sanctuary. They wonder why they feel invaded, occupied, conquered, yet they themselves have surrendered the keys to their own fortress. Consider how often you have allowed trivial matters to breach your defenses. A harsh word from a stranger disrupts your entire day. A critical comment from a colleague occupies your thoughts for hours. A small setback seems to shake the very foundations of your peace. These are not successful sieges. They are instances of voluntary surrender. In my years wearing the purple, I faced assassination attempts, betrayals, and the constant pressure of ruling an empire. Yet I discovered that no external threat could disturb my inner peace unless I first judged it worthy of doing so. The arrows of misfortune may rain upon your outer walls, but they cannot pierce your inner sanctuary unless you yourself deem them powerful enough to do so. Your mind is the guard at the gate. It alone decides what thoughts to admit and what emotions to harbor. When anger approaches your walls, it is your mind that chooses whether to lower the drawbridge. When fear camps outside your fortress, it is your mind that decides whether to send out supplies to sustain its siege. Think of this citadel as your true domain. Unlike external possessions, unlike your reputation, unlike even your physical body, this inner fortress cannot be taken from you by force. It can only be surrendered through negligence or choice. Here, you are the absolute sovereign. No power on earth can force you to think what you do not choose to think or to believe what you do not choose to believe. But with this sovereignty comes responsibility. You must be vigilant. You must train yourself to recognize threats to your inner peace before they reach your gates. You must learn to distinguish between what truly deserves entry into your mental sanctuary and what should be left outside to dissipate on its own. When someone insults you, stop at your gates. Examine their words before you allow them to enter and disturb your peace. Are these words true? If yes, then there is something to learn, but no reason for disturbance. Are they false? Then they describe someone else, not you. Why admit them into your citadel? When misfortune strikes, pause at the threshold. What has actually been lost? What remains within your power? Remember, the event itself stops at the outer wall. It is your judgment about the event that seeks entry. Choose these judgments wisely, for they are the true inhabitants of your inner fortress. Guard this citadel as you would guard your most precious possession, for indeed, it is your most precious possession. Let your walls be built of reason, your gates defended by wisdom. Stock your fortress with noble thoughts, sustain it with careful reflection, strengthen it with philosophical exercise. Remember, no external power can breach these walls, no fortune can scale these heights. No enemy can poison these wells. Only you can decide what enters your inner sanctuary. Only you can maintain its defenses. Only you can ensure its peace. This is your citadel. Guard it well. Expect injustice. Meet it with justice. When you rise each morning, prepare yourself for this certainty. You will encounter injustice. As surely as the sun rises, someone will act unfairly, speak falsely, or move against what is right. I tell you, this not to darken your outlook, but to strengthen your resolve. For in my years as emperor, I learned that the true test of character lies not in being surprised by injustice, but in how we meet it when it comes. Picture yourself in the marketplace of life, where every sort of character mingles. Here is one who cheats in business, there another who spreads lies, and yet another who betrays trust. Do not waste your energy in shock or outrage. Would you be angry at a fig tree for bearing figs, at a honey bee for making honey? So too should you expect humans to act according to their nature. But hear me well, this expectation of injustice is not an excuse to descend to the level of those who wrong you. When others act unjustly, they stain their own character, not yours. Your task is not to join them in their corruption, but to maintain your own integrity in the face of their failings. Think of the ocean meeting a polluted stream. Does the ocean become polluted? No, it receives the dirty water and transforms it, maintaining its own essential nature. So too must you learn to meet injustice with an unwavering commitment to justice. Let others' darkness highlight your light, not extinguish it. I have seen men use the injustice they suffer as justification for abandoning their own principles. They started it, they cry, as they sink to the level of those they condemn. But I ask you, if someone hands you poison, do you drink it? If they jump from a cliff, do you follow? Why then would you let their injustice poison your own character or drag your principles into the abyss? When someone wrongs you, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, what virtue can I practice in this moment? If they are dishonest, be truthful. If they are cruel, be kind. If they are faithless, be loyal, not for their sake, but for your own. For every act of injustice is an opportunity to strengthen your own commitment to justice. Consider this truth. The unjust person harms themselves first. Every lie they tell weakens their relationship with truth. Every cruel act distances them further from humanity. Every betrayal corrupts their own soul before it touches anyone else. Understanding this should fill you not with anger, but with a kind of compassion, even as you stand firmly against their actions. In my role as emperor, I faced betrayal from those closest to me, witnessed corruption in those who should have been most noble, and saw justice twisted by those sworn to uphold it. Yet each instance served not to embitter me, but to reinforce my own commitment to righteous action. For what better response to darkness than to shine more brightly? You must train yourself to see injustice not as a personal affront, but as a challenge to your character. When others act badly, they present you with a choice. Will you let their injustice drag you down to their level, or will you use it as an opportunity to demonstrate what justice truly looks like? Remember this: you cannot control whether others choose to act justly, but you have absolute control over whether you maintain your own commitment to justice. Let this be your immovable position, that no injustice from others will shake your own dedication to what is right. This is not weakness. It is not passive acceptance of wrongdoing. It is the strongest possible response to injustice, to meet it with unwavering justice, to counter it with unshakable integrity, like a mighty cliff that stands unchanged while waves crash against it. Your character should remain steady in the face of others' wrongdoing. So, expect injustice, yes, but meet it with justice. Expect dishonesty, but meet it with truth. Expect betrayal, but meet it with loyalty. Expect darkness, but meet it with light. This is how you transform the poison of others' injustice into medicine for your own character. Let others choose their path. You know, yours. The power of present moment. Awareness. Stop. Be still. Feel the weight of your body where you sit. Notice your breath as it moves in and out. This moment, this exact moment, is the only one you truly possess. As emperor, I commanded vast territories, yet I came to understand that our real domain is not measured in miles or leagues, but in moments properly lived. Most people live as fugitives from the present moment. They rush through their days with their minds constantly dwelling in an imagined future or a remembered past. They eat without tasting, look without seeing, listen without hearing, always somewhere else in their thoughts, never fully present in their lives. Picture yourself as you typically move through your day. Your body sits in a meeting, but your mind wanders to evening plans. You walk through a garden, but your thoughts race ahead to tomorrow's challenges. You lie in bed at night, but your mind replays old conversations or rehearses future ones. In all these moments, life is happening, but you are not there to live it. This scattered attention is not merely a habit. It is a form of self-imposed exile from your own life. When your mind constantly dwells in thoughts of the future, you sacrifice the only moment where action is possible. When it lingers in the past, you forsake the only moment where life can be truly experienced. I have watched men waste their entire lives in this manner. Generals so focused on future victories that they fail to see the opportunities before them. Senators so trapped in past grievances that they could not grasp present realities. Common citizens so lost in dreams of tomorrow that they never lived fully in any today. Understand this: the past is nothing but memory, and the future is nothing but imagination. Both are important tools, yes, but neither is where life actually happens. Life, real life, occurs only in the present moment. This is where choices are made. This is where actions are taken. This is where life is actually lived. Think of a swordsman in battle. His mind cannot be in the past or future. It must be absolutely present, totally aware of each moment as it unfolds. Any lapse in presence, any wandering of attention could mean death. Your life may not hang on such a literal edge, but the principle remains the same. Power lies in presence. When you eat, eat. When you walk, walk. When you listen, listen. This is not mere simplicity, it is the height of sophistication. To be fully present in each action, each conversation, each moment of your day. This is the practice that transforms ordinary life into extraordinary living. But do not misunderstand. This is not about ignoring the future or forgetting the past. Planning has its place, as does reflection. But these activities should themselves be done with full presence. When you plan, plan completely, with your whole attention in the present moment of planning. When you reflect, reflect fully, with your whole being engaged in the present act of reflection. The present moment is like a mighty river, constantly flowing. You cannot step into the same river twice, for it is never the same river, and you are never the same person. Each moment arrives fresh, new, unprecedented. To meet it with a mind full of old thoughts, old patterns, old reactions, is to miss its unique teaching, its particular opportunity. Train yourself to recognize when your mind has wandered from the present. Notice how often you sacrifice the reality of now for thoughts of then or later. Each time you catch your mind drifting, gently but firmly, bring it back to the present moment. This is not a battle to be won once, but a practice to be maintained throughout life. Remember, you cannot change the past no matter how much you dwell on it. You cannot control the future no matter how much you worry about it. But you can live this moment fully, meet it completely, engage with it wholly. This is where your true power lies. The present moment is not just another concept to understand. It is the only place where life can be lived. Return to it again and again. It is always here, always waiting, always offering you the gift of real life. Be here now. This moment is all you have. Endurance is greater than anger. When anger rises within you, remember this truth. A moment of rage can undo years of wisdom. I have seen the mightiest of emperors reduced to foolishness by anger, and the most carefully laid plans destroyed in an instant of uncontrolled fury. The strength to endure, to persist without losing your center, this is power far greater than any momentary explosion of anger. Picture yourself as a mighty cliff face. Storms may rage against you, waves may crash upon you, winds may howl around you, but you remain unmoved. This is not weakness. This is not submission. This is power in its purest form. The cliff does not need to shout at the storm to prove its strength. Its very endurance is its victory. Most mistake anger for strength. They believe that to show power, they must show rage. They think that to be respected, they must be feared. But I tell you now, as one who has commanded armies, anger is not power. It is a confession of powerlessness. It is the desperate act of one who has run out of better options. Consider how often your anger has actually improved a situation. Has it made you wiser? Has it made your decisions better? Has it earned you genuine respect? Or has it merely provided a momentary release, like steam from a kettle, while leaving the underlying situation unchanged or worse? In my years wearing the purple, I faced countless provocations, betrayals from trusted advisors, insults from foreign powers, challenges from those who should have shown loyalty. Each instance presented a choice, to react with anger or to respond with steady endurance. Time and again, I saw how endurance proved the wiser path. Anger clouds judgment just when clarity is most needed. It speaks when silence would serve better. It acts when patience would yield greater rewards. Like a fire that burns down the very house it was meant to warm, anger destroys the very causes it claims to champion. But here is what you must understand about endurance. It is not passive acceptance. It is not weak submission. True endurance is an active force, a conscious choice to maintain your principles and purpose regardless of provocation. It is the strength to continue acting according to your highest values even when others descend into their lowest behavior. Think of the trained warrior. Is it the one who flies into a rage at every challenge who wins the day? Or is it the one who maintains their discipline, who channels their energy with purpose, who outlasts their opponent through superior endurance? The answer is clear to all who have truly studied the art of victory. When you feel anger rising, pause. Feel the heat of it in your body. Notice the thoughts that fuel it. But do not let it command you. You are not anger's subject. You are its sovereign. Choose instead the path of endurance. Ask yourself, what would outlasting this challenge look like? What would it mean to prevail through persistence rather than explosion? Understand this. Those who anger you, conquer you. Every time you fly into a rage, you hand victory to those who provoked you. They gain power over your mind, your emotions, your behavior. But when you choose endurance over anger, you maintain your sovereignty. You remain the emperor of your own reactions. Train yourself to see provocations as tests of your endurance rather than triggers for your anger. When someone insults you, let it strengthen your resolve rather than weaken your composure. When circumstances frustrate you, let them increase your determination rather than decrease your dignity. Remember, the oak tree does not battle the wind. It endures, it adapts, it grows stronger at the broken places. The river does not rage against the boulder. It flows around, it persists, it gradually reshapes the very obstacle that stood in its way. This is the power of endurance over anger. Let others waste their energy in furious outbursts. Let them exhaust themselves in angry tirades. You know a greater strength. You understand a deeper power. You practice the discipline of endurance. And in this practice, you become truly unconquerable. Stand firm, endure, prevail, not through the temporary power of anger, but through the lasting strength of steadfast endurance. This is the way of the philosopher-emperor. This is your way. On fame, criticism, and the opinion of others, consider for a moment how much of your energy is spent worrying about what others think of you. As emperor, I witnessed the endless dance of reputation, how men would twist themselves into knots, seeking approval, how they would sacrifice their peace of mind on the altar of public opinion. But I tell you now, the opinions of others are like clouds in the sky, constantly changing, ultimately insubstantial, and entirely beyond your control. Picture yourself standing in the Roman Forum, surrounded by the whispers and judgments of 1,000 voices. Some praise you, others condemn you. Some elevate you to divine status, others drag your name through the mud. Now ask yourself, has any of this changed who you truly are? Has a single word of praise made you more virtuous? Has any criticism made you less worthy? The great folly of those who chase fame is that they seek to control the uncontrollable. They attempt to manage the thoughts of others, a task as futile as trying to command the wind. Even if you could somehow force everyone to speak well of you today, what guarantee do you have of tomorrow? Fame is fickle, praise is fleeting, and criticism is inevitable. I have seen men of great achievement reduced to misery by a single harsh word from a stranger. I have watched others sacrifice their principles, their peace, and their authenticity in the desperate pursuit of approval. They forget that the opinions of others are not facts about you. They are facts about them, about their own preferences, prejudices, and projections. When criticism comes, and it will come, remember this: the critic reveals more about themselves than about you. When someone says, "Your work is worthless," they are really saying, "I do not understand or value what you have done." This is their limitation, not yours. Their judgment stops at the surface of your life. It cannot touch your inner worth, unless you grant it that power. Similarly, when praise arrives, maintain your equilibrium. Do not let flattery inflate your ego any more than you let criticism deflate it. Both are external judgments, both are equally unsubstantial, and both are equally irrelevant to your true value. The wise person accepts praise with the same detachment with which they accept criticism, as passing phenomena that say nothing essential about who they are. Think of how many now famous figures were once ridiculed. How many now revered works were initially rejected? How many universal truths of previous generations are now seen as obvious fallacies? This should teach you the transient nature of public opinion. The crowd that cheers today may jeer tomorrow. And what does either response change about your essential nature? But understand this clearly. This is not about becoming callous or indifferent to others. It is about placing opinions in their proper perspective. Do your duty. Perform your work. Live your principles, not for the approval they might bring, but because they are right. Let your actions spring from your own clear judgment, not from the desire to please or fear of criticism. When you find yourself anxious about others' opinions, ask yourself, will this matter in a year, in 10 years, in 100 years? Remember how little we now care about the petty criticisms and fleeting fame of generations past. Time washes away both praise and condemnation, leaving only the reality of what you actually did and who you actually were. Train yourself to find satisfaction in the action itself, not in its reception. Take pleasure in doing good work because it is good work, not because others might approve. Face challenges with courage because courage is right, not because others might admire it. Live with integrity because integrity is its own reward, not because it might win you reputation. Let others spend their days obsessing over their public image, adjusting their behavior to chase the latest winds of opinion. You have more important work to do. Your task is to focus on what is actually within your control, your choices, your actions, your character. These are the only things that truly matter, and they are entirely independent of others' opinions. Remember, fame is a prison if you live for it. Criticism is a weapon only if you accept its authority over you. You are not here to win approval or avoid disapproval. You are here to live according to your highest understanding, to do what you know to be right, to be who you truly are. Let them talk. You have work to do. Strength in simplicity. In the midst of a world that prizes complexity, that celebrates excess, that constantly demands more, I share with you a powerful truth. Strength lies in simplicity. As emperor, I had access to every luxury, every comfort, every excess the ancient world could provide. Yet I discovered that true power comes not from accumulation, but from elimination, not from having more, but from needing less. Picture your life as a garden. When a garden is overcrowded with too many plants, none can truly flourish. Each plant fights for resources, for space, for light. But when the garden is properly pruned, when only the essential remains, each plant has room to grow strong, to reach its full potential. Your life is no different. Most people live in a constant state of addition. More possessions, more commitments, more desires, more distractions. They mistake abundance for wealth, complexity for sophistication, busyness for importance. But look carefully at the truly powerful forces in nature. Gravity, light, time itself. All operate on principles of profound simplicity. Consider how much of what clutters your life truly serves your purpose. How many of your possessions actually enhance your existence? How many of your daily activities genuinely contribute to your growth? How many of your relationships truly enrich your soul? Simplicity begins with honest assessment and continues with courageous elimination. In my years wearing the purple, I observed how often men would complicate their lives unnecessarily. They would create elaborate schemes when simple solutions would suffice. They would build complex relationships when straightforward honesty would serve better. They would develop intricate philosophies when basic principles would guide them true. But understand this: simplicity is not simple-mindedness. It is not the absence of depth, but the presence of clarity. It is not the rejection of complexity, but the mastery of it. Like a master swordsman whose movements appear effortless precisely because of years of practice, true simplicity is the culmination of deep understanding. Think of water, how it always finds the simplest path downward, how it adapts to any container without losing its essence, how it maintains its nature whether in a puddle or an ocean. Water's strength lies not in its complexity, but in its fundamental simplicity. It does not try to be anything other than what it is. When you face a problem, resist the urge to complicate your response. Ask yourself, what is the simplest solution? That could work? What is the most straightforward path forward? What would this look like if it were easy? Often, the answer you seek is buried under layers of unnecessary complexity that you yourself have added. Train yourself to recognize the value of less. Less possessions means more freedom. Less commitments means more focus. Less distractions means more presence. Less noise means more clarity. This is not deprivation. It is liberation. Every unnecessary thing you remove from your life creates space for what truly matters. In your daily conduct, seek simplicity. Speak plainly without unnecessary embellishment. Act directly without needless complication. Think clearly without excessive elaboration. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. There is tremendous power in this straightforwardness. It conserves energy, builds trust, and creates clarity. Remember, nature does not show off. The moon does not strain to shine. The mountain does not boast of its height. The ocean does not apologize for its depth. Each simply is what it is, does what it does, exists as it exists. This is the ultimate simplicity, and in it lies immeasurable strength. Your task is not to add more to your life, but to discover what you can remove. Not to increase your burdens, but to identify what you can release. Not to complicate your path, but to clear it of unnecessary obstacles. This is the way to power, not through acquisition, but through refinement. Let others chase complexity. Let them build elaborate facades, create intricate justifications, pursue endless complications. You know better. You understand that true strength flows from simplicity, that real power comes from clarity, that genuine mastery manifests in the ability to reduce things to their essence. Choose simplicity, not because it is easy, but because it is strong. Not because it is common, but because it is rare. Not because it is fashionable, but because it is true. The impermanence of all things. Look around you at this moment. Everything you see, everything you possess, everything you love, all of it is passing away. As emperor, I watched cities rise and fall, empires expand and contract, lives begin and end. This is not a truth to despair over, but a reality to embrace. For in understanding impermanence lies the key to living fully and dying well. Picture yourself standing in a vast museum of your life. Here are your proudest achievements, your most cherished relationships, your most precious possessions. Now, understand, every single item in this museum is temporary. The granite will crumble, the gold will tarnish, the memories will fade. This is not tragedy. This is the natural order of things. Most people live in denial of impermanence. They clutch at possessions as if ownership were permanent. They cling to youth as if time could be arrested. They grasp at relationships as if love could be frozen in place. But look at nature itself. Does any moment remain unchanged? Does any season last forever? Does any wave maintain its form? I have watched men destroy their present by trying to preserve their past. I have seen others poison their joy by trying to make permanent what is by nature temporary. They fight against the current of time itself, and in doing so, miss the beauty of what is actually before them. Consider how many empires believed they would last forever. How many monuments were built to endure for all time. How many loves were sworn to be eternal. Yet where are they now? The mighty kingdoms are dust. The monuments lie in ruins. The lovers long forgotten. This is not failure. It is the fulfillment of their nature. But hear me well. Understanding impermanence does not mean withdrawing from life. Quite the opposite. It means engaging more fully, more honestly, more deeply with each passing moment. When you truly grasp that nothing lasts, every moment becomes precious precisely because it cannot be held. Think of how you watch a sunset. You don't rage against its passing. You don't try to preserve it in the sky. You simply appreciate its beauty while it lasts, knowing that its very impermanence is part of its beauty. What if you could bring this same understanding to all aspects of your life? When you feel yourself grasping, pause. Notice the desire to make permanent what is, by nature, temporary. Ask yourself, what if I could appreciate this moment, this relationship, this achievement exactly as it is? Beautiful, because it is fleeting. Precious, because it cannot last. Train yourself to see impermanence not as loss, but as movement. The leaf does not lose its nature when it falls from the tree. It fulfills it. The wave does not lose itself when it returns to the ocean. It completes its journey. Your experiences, too, are not truly lost when they pass. They become part of the greater flow of your life. Remember, everything you experience is like writing on water. The words disappear even as they're being written. But this does not make the writing meaningless. It makes it immediate, vital, real. Each stroke matters precisely because it cannot be preserved. In your daily life, let this understanding of impermanence guide you. Do not waste time trying to build monuments to your ego. Do not exhaust yourself trying to leave permanent marks. Instead, focus on the quality of your actions in each moment. Let each deed be complete in itself, neither grasping at the future nor clinging to the past. When you meet with success, remember it will pass. When you face failure, remember this too will pass. When joy fills your heart, savor it without trying to cage it. When sorrow weighs upon you, endure it without believing it permanent. This is not detachment. It is clear seeing. Let others exhaust themselves fighting against the nature of reality. Let them build their fortresses against time, their walls against change, their defenses against the inevitable. You know better. You understand that true strength lies not in resistance to impermanence, but in harmony with it. Embrace the passing show, not because you are resigned to loss, but because you understand that impermanence itself is what gives life its beauty, its urgency, its meaning. Everything changes. This is not the end of the story, but its very essence. Daily adversity is training, not punishment. When difficulty arrives at your door, and it will arrive daily in countless forms, remember this: you are not being punished, you are being trained. As emperor, I faced a constant stream of challenges, from plague to betrayal, from war to personal loss. Each trial seemed, at first, like a burden, but I came to understand that these very difficulties were the instruments of my growth. Picture yourself in the gymnasium of life. Here's the weight of responsibility that strains your shoulders. Here's the resistance of opposition that tests your strength. Here are the repetitions of daily challenges that build your resilience. Would you walk into a training ground and curse the weights for being heavy? Would you condemn the obstacles for requiring effort to overcome? Most people meet adversity with resentment. They ask, "Why is this happening to me?" As if the universe had singled them out for punishment. But look closer at nature itself. Does the sapling resent the wind that forces it to grow stronger roots? Does the muscle resent the resistance that causes it to grow stronger? Does the sword resent the whetstone that sharpens its edge? I have watched men crumble under pressures that could have strengthened them. I have seen others break under burdens that could have built them. They failed to understand that difficulty is not the enemy of growth. It is its essential catalyst. Without resistance, there is no strengthening. Without challenge, there is no improvement. Consider the most basic principles of training. The body grows stronger, not during moments of ease, but through the stress of exercise. The mind grows sharper, not through comfortable thoughts, but through challenging problems. The character grows nobler, not through easy choices, but through moral challenges that force us to live our principles. But understand this clearly. Not all adversity is equal, and not all responses to it are equally beneficial. Like a wise trainer, you must learn to distinguish between productive stress and destructive strain. You must learn to engage with challenges in ways that strengthen rather than shatter, that build rather than break. Think of how a skilled warrior trains. They do not begin with the heaviest weights or the most difficult techniques. They progress gradually, building capacity through consistent challenge. So too must you approach life's difficulties, not avoiding them, but engaging with them. Strategically, progressively, purposefully. When adversity appears, pause. Rather than asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is this here to teach me?" Rather than seeking escape, seek understanding. Rather than viewing the challenge as punishment, view it as preparation. Every difficulty carries within it a lesson, if you have the wisdom to look for it. Train yourself to see obstacles as opportunities. Each angry person you encounter is a chance to practice patience. Each setback is a chance to practice resilience. Each disappointment is a chance to practice equanimity. Each challenge is a chance to demonstrate the principles you claim to believe in. Remember, the finest swords are forged in the hottest fires. The strongest trees grow in the face of the strongest winds. The most resilient characters are built through facing, not avoiding, adversity. Your difficulties are not random punishments. They are carefully calibrated opportunities for growth. In your daily life, begin to reframe every challenge through this lens of training. The traffic that tests your patience, it's an opportunity to practice serenity. The difficult colleague who tries your nerves, they're helping you develop forbearance. The plans that fall apart, they're teaching you adaptability. This is not mere positive thinking. It is practical wisdom. When you view adversity as training, you shift from victim to student, from passive sufferer to active learner. This shift in perspective changes not just how you feel about challenges, but how effectively you handle them. Let others rail against their difficulties. Let them curse their challenges, resent their struggles, flee from their trials. You know better. You understand that these very difficulties are the raw material from which you will forge your strength, your wisdom, your character. Embrace your training, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. Not because you enjoy it, but because you understand its purpose. Not because you asked for it, but because it is precisely what you need to become, who you are capable of being. Remember, the universe is not punishing you. It is preparing you. Train accordingly. Desire nothing but what happens. Here is a secret that few understand, yet all who grasp it find immediate peace. Learn to desire exactly what fate brings you. As emperor, I faced countless situations that differed from my preferences. Storms that delayed crucial campaigns, allies who proved faithless, plans that crumbled despite careful preparation. Yet, I discovered that true power lies not in bending reality to our wishes, but in aligning our wishes with reality. Picture yourself standing in a swift river. You can exhaust yourself fighting against the current, demanding it flow differently, or you can develop the wisdom to swim with its natural motion. Most spend their lives in futile combat with reality, but you have the opportunity to learn a better way. Think of how much energy you spend wishing things were different. The weather should be clearer. People should be kinder. Life should be easier. Traffic should move faster. Events should unfold according to your plans. Yet has any amount of wishing ever changed what is? Has any quantity of complaint ever altered reality's course? I have watched men drive themselves to madness by maintaining a constant quarrel with reality. They insist that their spouse should be different, their children should be different, their circumstances should be different. In doing so, they wage an unwinnable war, not against the world, but against the nature of existence itself. Consider this profound truth. The universe is not failing to align with your desires. Your desires are failing to align with the universe. The world is not obstinately refusing to conform to your preferences. It is simply unfolding according to its nature. The question is not how to make reality obey you, but how to bring your will into harmony with reality. But understand, this is not resignation. This is not passive acceptance of injustice or surrender to circumstances. It is the highest form of practical wisdom. When you desire what happens, you are never disappointed. When you align your will with reality, you tap into an inexhaustible source of power, the power of working with, rather than against, the nature of things. Think of how a skilled sailor navigates. They do not curse the wind for blowing in an unexpected direction. They adjust their sails, adapt their course, and use whatever wind arises to move toward their destination. This is the art you must master, not demanding that life provide only favorable winds, but learning to work skillfully with whatever winds arise. When events unfold differently than you hoped, pause. Instead of immediately resisting or complaining, ask yourself, can I find a way to desire this? Not because it matches my preferences, but because it is what is. Can I discover the hidden opportunity, the unexpected advantage, the concealed blessing in this unwanted situation? Train yourself to see that everything that happens is, in some way, necessary. Not because of some grand cosmic plan, but because of the simple fact that what is, is. The rain that ruins your plans is necessary for the crops to grow. The delay that frustrates you is necessary to avoid some unseen accident. The person who annoys you is necessary for your growth in patience. Remember, you are not being asked to pretend that painful things are pleasant. You're not being told to deny your initial reactions or suppress your natural feelings. You are being invited to move beyond them, to develop a deeper understanding that allows you to genuinely desire reality exactly as it presents itself. In your daily life, practice this art of alignment. When you find yourself resisting what is, catch yourself. When you notice yourself fighting reality, pause. When you feel the friction between your desires and the world as it is, take a breath. Then ask, what would change if I could genuinely desire this moment exactly as it is? Let others exhaust themselves in the futile attempt to bend reality to their wishes. Let them rage against what is, demand what isn't, and suffer the inevitable frustration of trying to force the universe to comply with their preferences. You know better. You understand that true power comes not from imposing your will on reality, but from aligning your will with it. Desire what happens. Not because you are weak, but because you are wise. Not because you cannot change things, but because you understand that accepting what is serves as the foundation for any meaningful change. Not because you have given up, but because you have grown up. Remember, the universe is not here to please you. It is here to teach you. Learn to desire the lesson. Stillness in the face of chaos, in the midst of chaos. There is an eye of perfect calm, and you must learn to dwell there. As emperor, I faced days when the world seemed to be tearing itself apart, barbarians at the gates, plague in the cities, treachery in the courts, yet I discovered that true power lies not in controlling the chaos, but in maintaining inner stillness, regardless of external turbulence. Picture yourself standing in the center of a great storm. Around you, winds howl and debris flies. Lightning splits the sky and thunder shakes the ground, but in the very center where you stand, there is a pocket of absolute calm. This is not metaphor. This is the reality you must learn to create within yourself. Most people mirror the chaos around them. When their world becomes turbulent, they become turbulent. When circumstances grow chaotic, they become chaotic. When life turns stormy, they turn stormy within. But look at nature's deepest laws. Beneath the surface chaos of waves, the ocean depths remain still. Beyond the chaos of storms, the sky remains vast and unchanging. I have watched men lose themselves in times of crisis. Their minds become as disordered as their circumstances, their thoughts as turbulent as their situations. They forget that chaos is only dangerous when it penetrates their inner sanctuary. External disorder need not create internal disorder. Consider the great lighthouse standing against the storm. While waves crash and winds howl, it remains unmoved, unwavering, continuing its essential purpose. Its light does not flicker because of the darkness around it. Its foundation does not shake because of the turbulence that assails it. But understand this well: stillness is not inaction. It is not passive submission to chaos. It is the most powerful form of action, the ability to maintain clarity and purpose even when everything around you descends into confusion. It is the capacity to think clearly when others panic, to stay focused when others scatter, to remain steady when others falter. Think of how a skilled surgeon operates. In the midst of blood and trauma, their hands remain steady, their mind remains clear, their focus remains absolute. They have learned to maintain inner stillness regardless of external chaos. This is the skill you must develop for the surgery of daily life. When chaos erupts around you, pause. Instead of immediately reacting, instead of adding your own turbulence to the storm, create a moment of deliberate stillness. Feel your feet on the ground, notice your breath moving in and out. Establish your center before engaging with the disorder around you. Train yourself to find stillness in increasingly chaotic situations. Begin with small disruptions. Practice maintaining calm when your plans are interrupted, when traffic is snarled, when minor emergencies arise. Like a muscle, this capacity for stillness grows stronger with consistent exercise. Remember, the world's chaos is not a reflection of its true nature, but of humanity's confused relationship with it. Beneath the surface turbulence, reality remains unchanged, unshaken, unmoved. Your task is to align yourself with this deeper reality rather than being swept away by surface disorders. In your daily life, make stillness your default response to chaos. When others rush to react, you maintain your center. When others speak in panic, you speak from peace. When others add to the confusion, you add clarity. This is not just for your own benefit. A still mind serves as an anchor for those around you. Let others be carried away by every wind of chaos. Let them mirror the disorder they encounter, amplify the turbulence they face, lose themselves in the storms that arise. You know better. You understand that power lies not in joining the chaos, but in maintaining stillness within it. Your stillness should be like the depths of the ocean, unmoved by the storms that rage on the surface. Your clarity should be like the sky above, the clouds, untroubled by the weather that passes beneath. Your center should be like the eye of the hurricane, perfectly calm, while chaos circles around it. Remember, chaos is inevitable, but inner turbulence is optional. You choose in each moment whether to join the storm or to be the stillness at its center. The duty to serve others. Calmly we are born not for ourselves alone, but for the good of all who cross our path. As emperor, I learned that true leadership is not about power over others, but service to them. Yet, this service must be rendered not with anxiety or resentment, but with the steady calm of one who understands their proper role in the great web of human connection. Picture yourself as a mighty oak tree in a public square. You provide shade not because you are commanded to, but because it is your nature. You offer shelter not with complaint about those who seek it, but with the quiet dignity of one fulfilling their proper function. This is how you must learn to serve naturally, calmly, without expectation of reward or recognition. Most people approach service either with resistance or with exhausting emotional turmoil. They either avoid their duties to others, viewing them as burdens that restrict their freedom, or they throw themselves into service with such frantic energy that they quickly burn out. Both approaches miss the essential truth. Serving others calmly is not a constraint on our nature, but its highest expression. I have watched men serve from the wrong motives, for praise, for power, for the appearance of virtue. Their service becomes a source of stress, because it springs from ego rather than understanding. True service flows naturally from the recognition that we are all parts of the same whole, like fingers on a hand. Does the finger serve the hand with resentment? Does it demand recognition for fulfilling its function? Consider how nature serves. The sun does not shine with anxiety about whether its light is appreciated. The rain does not fall with resentment about which fields it waters. The earth does not support life with complaint about the weight it bears. Each element performs its function calmly, naturally, without drama or demand. But understand this clearly. Calm service is not weak service. It is not passive or ineffective. Like a river that steadily carves through mountain rock, calm service often accomplishes more than frantic activity. It is sustainable where emotional service exhausts itself. It is reliable where dramatic service falters. Think of the skilled physician treating patients. They do not engage with hysteria even when dealing with crisis. They do not inject their own emotional turmoil into already difficult situations. They serve with steady hands, clear minds, and calm hearts. And this very calmness is often as healing as their medical skill. When called upon to serve, whether in great matters or small, pause. Check your emotional state. Are you serving with resentment, with anxiety, with the need for recognition? These emotional additions do not improve your service. They merely drain your energy and diminish your effectiveness. Train yourself to find joy in calm service. Not the excited happiness of recognition or reward, but the quiet satisfaction of functioning according to your nature. Like a well-oiled machine performing its proper task, there is pleasure in simply doing what you are designed to do. Remember, every interaction is an opportunity for service. The colleague who needs guidance, the stranger who needs directions, the friend who needs support, each presents a chance to fulfill your function as a human being. But this service must flow from tranquility, not turbulence. In your daily life, practice serving without emotional drama. Help without expecting gratitude, support without demanding recognition, guide without requiring acknowledgement. Let your service be like breathing, natural, necessary, and performed without constant conscious thought. Let others serve with great shows of emotion, with dramatic declarations of sacrifice, with constant reminders of their contribution. Let them exhaust themselves with the additional burden of their own emotional turmoil. You know better. You understand that the most powerful service is also the calmest. Your duty to others should be like the gravity that holds planets in their orbits, constant, reliable, and operating without fanfare. Your service should be like the air that sustains life, essential yet unnoticed, powerful yet peaceful, present yet not demanding attention. Remember, you serve not because you must, but because you understand, not because you are bound, but because you are aware, not because you are forced, but because you are free. The limits of pain and fear understand this fundamental truth. Both pain and fear have boundaries, but your mind's ability to magnify them is boundless. As emperor, I faced physical wounds in battle and the deeper cuts of betrayal and loss. Yet, I discovered that what limits us is rarely the pain itself, but our terror of it, our anticipation of it, our stories about it. Picture yourself touching a hot coal. The pain is real, yes, but notice how quickly you withdraw your hand. Pain itself is bounded by nature, limited in duration and scope. But fear of pain, that can last a lifetime. It can spread like poison through every decision, every relationship, every opportunity. This is where your work begins. Most people live their lives in a prison, built by fear of pain. They avoid necessary actions because they might hurt. They flee from crucial conversations because they might suffer. They abandon their principles because standing firm might bring discomfort. But examine this closely. How often is the anticipation worse than the actual experience? I have watched mighty warriors crumble not from their wounds, but from their fear of being wounded. I have seen wise counselors fall silent not from actual consequences, but from fear of consequences. They forget that pain is like a wave. It has a beginning, a peak, and an end. Fear, if we let it, is like the ocean, endless and all-encompassing. Consider how often your fear of pain has caused you more suffering than the pain itself. The sleepless nights before a challenging event, the countless hours of worry before a difficult conversation, the endless mental rehearsals of potential disasters. All this self-inflicted suffering, and for what? Does it prevent the pain? Does it prepare you better than calm acceptance would? But understand this well. The goal is not to become numb to pain or immune to fear. These are natural responses that serve a purpose. The goal is to see them clearly for what they are. Limited temporary experiences that your mind can either magnify into monsters or reduce to their actual size. Think of how a skilled warrior handles pain and fear. They do not pretend these sensations don't exist. They do not try to be superhuman. Instead, they understand the true nature of pain and fear, that both are temporary, both are limited, and both can be faced with steady resolve, rather than panic when pain arrives, whether physical or emotional. Pause. Instead of immediately fighting it or fleeing from it, observe it. Notice its qualities, its boundaries, its intensity. Is it really as unbearable as your mind claims? Is it truly as endless as your fear suggests? Or does it, like all things in nature, have its own natural limits? Train yourself to distinguish between pain and suffering. Pain is the direct experience, the physical sensation, the emotional sting, the mental distress. Suffering is what your mind adds to it, the stories about how unbearable it is, how endless it must be, how uniquely unfortunate you are to experience it. Remember, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You cannot always choose whether pain visits you, but you can choose how you host it. Will you magnify it with fear? Will you multiply it with resistance? Or will you meet it with the calm understanding that this, too, has its limits? In your daily life, practice facing small pains and fears with steady awareness. Feel the discomfort of speaking truth when lies would be easier. Experience the sting of maintaining your principles when compromise would be more comfortable. Face the anxiety of growth when stagnation would feel safer. Let others be tyrannized by their fears of pain. Let them build their lives around avoidance, construct their prisons of anticipated suffering, live small lives in the shadow of what might hurt. You know better. You understand that pain is limited, fear is often false, and courage is simply seeing both for what they truly are. Your relationship with pain and fear should be like that of a wise ruler with challenging but temporary visitors. Acknowledge their presence, understand their purpose, but never grant them permanent residence in your mind. Never let temporary guests become permanent rulers of your actions. Remember, pain is limited. Fear is optional. Your power lies not in avoiding either, but in seeing through both to the freedom that lies beyond them. Temper your tongue. Speech as a discipline. Your words have power beyond measure, yet how carelessly you wield them. As emperor, I learned that a single word could launch armies, topple ministers, or bring peace to warring nations. But more importantly, I discovered that mastery of speech begins not with learning what to say, but with learning when to remain silent. Picture yourself standing beside a deep well. Each word you speak is like a stone dropped into its waters. Some create gentle ripples, others cause waves that crash against the walls. But once released, you cannot recall them, cannot control their effects, cannot predict how far their influence will spread. This is the first lesson of disciplined speech. Understand the weight of what you release into the world. Most people use words as carelessly as a child scattering seeds in the wind. They speak without thought, react without reflection, fill silence with noise simply because silence makes them uncomfortable. They forget that every word planted will grow something. Whether flower or weed depends on what they have chosen to sow. I have watched skilled orators destroy themselves through casual speech. I have seen wise counselors undermine years of careful work with a moment of unguarded talk. They forgot that speech, like any powerful tool, requires discipline in its use. The sword unused causes no harm. The word unspoken makes no enemies. Consider how nature communicates. The thunder speaks only when necessary. The earth makes no sound as it spins through space. The trees do not announce their growing, yet each communicates exactly what it must, when it must, without excess or waste. But understand this clearly. Disciplined speech does not mean perpetual silence. It means speaking with purpose, with awareness, with responsibility for the consequences of your words. Like a master archer who looses arrows only when the target is clear, you must learn to speak only when the purpose is worthy. Think of the power that lies in carefully chosen words. A single sentence of encouragement can lift someone from despair. A well-timed truth can prevent years of misdirection. A carefully expressed insight can illuminate paths previously unseen. But this power emerges not from quantity of speech, but from its quality. When you feel compelled to speak, pause. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Is it true? Is it kind? Is this the right moment? Would silence serve better? These questions are not constraints on your expression. They are tools for making your expression more powerful. Train yourself to recognize the different hungers that drive speech. The need to be heard, the desire to appear wise, the urge to prove others wrong, the impulse to fill silence. Each of these can lead you to speak when wisdom would counsel quiet. Remember, your words create worlds in the minds of others. Each thing you say shapes their understanding, influences their actions, affects their choices. This is not a burden to make you fearful of speaking, but a reality to make you mindful of speech. In your daily life, practice the discipline of purposeful speech. Before important conversations, prepare not just what you will say, but what you will not say. During heated moments, master the art of the well-timed pause. After speaking, reflect on what you might have expressed more clearly or left unsaid. Let others fill the air with endless talk. Let them speak first and think later. React without reflection. Use words as thoughtlessly as breathing. You know better. You understand that speech is a precious resource to be used with care and purpose. Your words should be like well-placed stones in a garden path, each one carefully chosen, each one serving a purpose, each one contributing to the whole. Your speech should be like a finely crafted tool, used when needed, cared for with attention, stored with respect. Remember, the discipline of speech is not about suppression, but about elevation. Not about fear, but about power. Not about less communication, but about better communication. Master your words, and you master worlds. Prepare for betrayal without bitterness. Understand this truth that few wish to face. Betrayal will come as surely as winter follows autumn. As emperor, I was betrayed by friends, advisors, even family, those who had sworn the deepest loyalty. Yet I discovered that the true test lies not in preventing betrayal, but in meeting it without allowing bitterness to poison your soul. Picture yourself tending a garden. You plant with care, nurture with attention, protect with diligence. Yet despite all precautions, some plants will wither, some fruits will rot, some seeds will fail to sprout. Would you then curse the nature of gardens? Would you abandon the practice of cultivation? Or would you understand this as part of the gardener's path? Most people react to betrayal as though it were an unexpected tragedy, a unique misfortune that has singled them out for suffering. They let shock turn to rage, rage to bitterness, bitterness to cynicism. They forget that betrayal is not an aberration. In human nature, it is woven into the very fabric of human relationships. I have watched strong men crumble when faced with betrayal, not from the act itself, but from their inability to accept its possibility. I have seen wise women turn cruel after being betrayed, not understanding that by embracing bitterness, they betray themselves more deeply than anyone else could. Consider how nature handles betrayal. The tree does not curse when its leaves turn yellow and fall. The sky does not rage when clouds block its light. The river does not bitter when its banks erode. Each accepts these changes as part of the natural order, continuing their essential nature regardless. But understand this well. Preparing for betrayal does not mean becoming paranoid or distrustful. It means maintaining your own integrity while accepting the changing nature of human loyalty. Like a skilled captain who prepares for storms while still setting sail, you must prepare for betrayal while still opening your heart. Think of how a master jeweler examines gems. They understand that flaws are inherent in even the most precious stones. This knowledge doesn't diminish their appreciation of beauty, it deepens it. So too must you understand that the possibility of betrayal is inherent in all relationships, without letting this knowledge diminish your capacity for trust. When betrayal comes, and it will come, pause. Before reacting, before seeking revenge, before closing your heart, ask yourself, what if this is not happening to me, but for me? What strength might this build? What wisdom might this teach? What growth might this enable? Train yourself to see betrayal as information rather than injury. It tells you something about the other person's character, yes, but more importantly, it reveals something about your own capacity for resilience. Each betrayal is an opportunity to practice maintaining your integrity in the face of others' failures. Remember, the person who betrays you betrays themselves first. Their action reveals their character, not your worth. Their choice shows their limitations, not your lovability. Their failure demonstrates their weakness, not your unworthiness. In your daily life, practice preparing for betrayal by strengthening your self-reliance. Build your inner resources, not out of fear but out of wisdom. Cultivate your principles, not as walls against hurt, but as foundations that cannot be shaken by others' choices. Let others be consumed by bitterness after betrayal. Let them close their hearts, build their walls, nurse their grudges. You know better. You understand that the antidote to betrayal is not cynicism, but continued integrity, not withdrawal, but wisdom. Your response to betrayal should be like that of a mountain to rain, unchanged in essence, unmoved in purpose, continuing to offer shelter even as storms pass over. Your heart should be like the sun, continuing to shine regardless of who appreciates or rejects its light. Remember, you cannot control whether others keep faith, but you can control whether you keep your own. Nobility of spirit. You cannot prevent betrayal, but you can prevent it from defining you. You cannot choose whether others honor their commitments, but you can choose to honor your own nature. Prepare for betrayal not with armor, but with understanding. Not with walls, but with wisdom. Not with bitterness, but with unwavering commitment to your own highest principles. Find joy in work. Well done, there exists a satisfaction deeper than pleasure, more lasting than entertainment, more profound than momentary happiness. It is the joy of work well done. As emperor, I discovered that true contentment came not from the trappings of power, but from the quiet satisfaction of executing each task, however humble or grand, with excellence and purpose. Picture yourself as a master craftsman in their workshop. See how they handle each tool with respect. Approach each task with full attention, complete each step with careful precision. Notice how their satisfaction comes not from external praise or reward, but from the knowledge that they have done their work as well as it could be done. Most people view work as a burden to be endured, a necessity to be tolerated, a price to be paid for leisure. They rush through their tasks, counting the hours until freedom, missing entirely the deep satisfaction that comes from immersing oneself fully in meaningful labor. They seek joy everywhere except in the work before them. I have watched men of great privilege live joyless lives because they never learned the satisfaction of work well done. I have seen others, despite humble circumstances, find deep contentment through their dedication to craft and duty. They understood that joy is not found in avoiding work, but in approaching it with the right spirit. Consider how nature works. The spider weaves its web with perfect attention. The bee builds its honeycomb with precise care. The river carves its path with patient persistence. Each performs its function not with complaint, but with complete dedication to the task at hand. But understand this clearly. Finding joy in work does not mean becoming a slave to labor. It means transforming work from a burden into a practice, from an obligation into an opportunity, from a source of stress into a source of satisfaction. Think of how an artist approaches their canvas. They do not paint merely to finish, to sell, to please others. They paint because the act itself brings joy, because full engagement in the process is its own reward. Every task, properly approached, can be done with this same artistic spirit. When you face any work, whether writing a report, cleaning a room, building a strategy, or serving a customer, pause. Ask yourself, how could this be done excellently? Not merely adequately, not just sufficiently, but excellently. Excellence is not about perfection. It's about bringing your best self to the task at hand. Train yourself to find satisfaction in the details of work, the precise word chosen in a document, the extra care taken in organizing information, the thoughtful touch added to a routine task. These small acts of excellence compound into a life of meaning and satisfaction. Remember, the quality of your work reflects the quality of your character. Each task you complete is a signature you leave on the world. Each job you do is a statement about who you are and what you stand for. Excellence is not about recognition, it's about self-respect. In your daily life, practice finding joy in routine tasks. Instead of rushing through mundane work, approach it with full attention. Instead of saving your best effort for important jobs, bring excellence to everything you do. The size of the task doesn't matter. Your approach to it does. Let others complain about their work. Let them rush through their tasks, cut corners, deliver mediocrity. Let them live for the weekend, counting hours until escape. You know better. You understand that joy is not found in avoiding work, but in transforming it through excellence. Your relationship with work should be like that of a musician with their instrument. Each interaction an opportunity for excellence, each session a chance for mastery, each moment an invitation to create something worthwhile. Your approach to tasks should be like that of a master chef preparing a meal. Each ingredient matters, each step counts, each detail contributes to the whole. Remember, joy is not found in the avoidance of work, but in the mastery of it. Not in escape from duty, but in excellence in duty. Not in doing less, but in doing better. The satisfaction of work well done is a joy that no one can take from you because it comes from within. Choose excellence, not for praise, but for joy, not for reward, but for satisfaction, not for recognition, but for the deep contentment that comes from knowing you have done your best. Reflection at day's end. As the sun sets and shadows lengthen, you are granted a sacred opportunity that must not be wasted. As emperor, I ended each day in solitary reflection, reviewing not just the affairs of state, but the state of my own soul. This practice, more than any other, transformed my rule from mere governance to true wisdom. Picture yourself at day's end, sitting in quiet solitude. The world's demands have temporarily ceased. The day's battles, whether won or lost, are now past. This moment, before sleep claims you, but after action has ceased, is your opportunity to transform experience into wisdom through careful reflection. Most people end their days as thoughtlessly as they lived them. They collapse into bed, without examining their actions, reviewing their choices, or learning from their experiences. They move from day to day like arrows shot blindly, never adjusting their aim based on where previous arrows have landed. I have watched men of great potential stagnate because they never developed the habit of evening reflection. I have seen others, perhaps less gifted, grow steadily in wisdom through their faithful practice of daily review. The difference lies not in talent or opportunity, but in the simple discipline of honest self-examination. Consider how nature processes each day. The earth does not rush from one rotation to the next, but passes through the quiet pause of night. The tide does not surge endlessly, but retreats to gather its strength. The field does not grow continuously, but requires the darkness for regeneration. But understand this well. Evening reflection is not meant to be a harsh self-judgment or a catalog of failures. It is a calm, clear-eyed review of the day's events and your responses to them. Like a wise teacher reviewing a student's work, you must be honest but not harsh, thorough but not tyrannical. Think of how a skilled merchant counts their day's earnings and losses. They do this not with emotion, but with accuracy, not with attachment, but with attention. They seek not to praise or blame, but to understand, to learn, to improve. This is how you must examine your day. When you sit down for your evening, reflection, pause, create a space of quiet dignity for this important work. Ask yourself, what opportunities did I meet well today? What challenges revealed my weaknesses? What wisdom have I gained? What must I do differently tomorrow? Train yourself to look with equal clarity at your successes and failures. Success without reflection breeds arrogance. Failure without reflection breeds despair. Both are teachers if you have the wisdom to learn from them. Neither should be ignored. Neither should be dwelt upon excessively. Remember, the purpose of evening reflection is not to perfect yourself, but to know yourself, not to eliminate all faults, but to recognize them clearly, not to achieve immediate transformation, but to guide steady growth. The day's actions are done. What remains is to understand them. In your practice of evening reflection, be systematic but not rigid. Review your interactions with others. Did you maintain your principles? Examine your responses. To challenges, did you act with wisdom? Consider your use of time. Did you focus on what truly matters? But do this with the calm detachment of a scientist observing phenomena, not the harsh judgment of a critic. Let others end their days without thought, reflection, or learning. Let them move from experience to experience without gathering wisdom, from day to day without growing in understanding. You know better. You understand that unreflected experience is merely time past, not wisdom gained. Your evening reflection should be like a skilled gardener's inspection of their garden. Thorough, but not obsessive, noting what needs attention, without becoming overwhelmed, planning tomorrow's work without anxiety about it. Your review of the day should be like a warrior's examination of their weapons, careful, respectful, focused on maintenance and improvement. Remember, each day is a teacher, but its lessons are revealed only through reflection. Each experience carries wisdom, but that wisdom must be actively extracted through contemplation. Each sunset offers an opportunity for growth, but only if you create the space to receive it. End your day with wisdom, not with regret about what was, not with anxiety about what will be, but with clear understanding of what is. This is the path to true growth, to genuine progress, to lasting wisdom. Be the rock against which the waves break. Stand firm in the face of life's endless storms. As emperor, I learned that true strength lies not in the ability to command the waves, for they will come regardless of our wishes, but in developing the immovable stability that allows them to crash against us without effect. Picture yourself as a great coastal rock formation that has stood for centuries. Waves crash against you day and night. Storms rage around you in endless succession. Yet you remain unchanged in essence, unmoved by the temporary fury that spends itself against your steadfast nature. This is not mere imagery, it is a blueprint for living. Most people live like driftwood on the ocean, carried wherever the waves decide to take them. They are pushed by every current of circumstance, tossed by every storm of emotion, driven by every wind of opinion. They mistake motion for progress, forgetting that true strength often lies in steadfast stillness. I have watched men of apparent power collapse like sandcastles when the tide of fortune turned against them. I have seen others, perhaps less prominent, but more firmly grounded, stand unshaken through troubles that would have demolished those of weaker foundation. The difference lies not in the forces they faced, but in the stability they had cultivated. Consider how the mountain meets the elements. Rain does not penetrate its core, wind does not sway its mass, snow may cover its surface, but cannot change its nature. Each assault by the elements only proves its imperturbable strength, only demonstrates its immovable essence. But understand this clearly. Being the rock against which waves break does not mean being rigid or unresponsive. The strongest rock has subtle flexibility in its structure that prevents it from shattering. Your steadfastness must contain the same supple strength, firm in essence, yet intelligent in response. Think of how a lighthouse stands against a storm. It does not fight the elements or try to stop their fury. It simply continues its essential function, providing light, maintaining its position, serving its purpose, regardless of the conditions that rage around it. This is the model of immovable strength you must embody when difficulties arise, whether personal challenges, professional setbacks, or the general turbulence of life. Pause. Feel your foundation. Ground yourself in your principles. Remember that you need not be moved by every force that pushes against you. The waves may crash, but you choose whether to be displaced. Train yourself to find stability in increasingly challenging situations. Begin with small disturbances. Maintain your calm when others grow agitated. Hold your center when circumstances grow chaotic. Like a muscle, this capacity for steadfastness grows stronger through regular testing. Remember, the waves that crash against you are temporary, but your essential nature is permanent. Each storm that tests you is an opportunity to prove your stability, to demonstrate your immovable center, to show that you cannot be shaken from your chosen path. In your daily life, practice being the rock in every situation. When others panic, be steady. When circumstances grow chaotic, be stable. When the world seems to spin out of control, be the fixed point around which others can orient themselves. Let others be carried away by every shift of circumstance. Let them live at the mercy of external forces, bending to every pressure, yielding to every push. You know better. You understand that true power lies not in avoiding life's storms, but in standing firm through them. Your stability should be like that of an ancient tree whose roots run deep into the earth, unshaken by surface disturbances, because it is anchored in deeper truth. Your steadfastness should be like that of the stars, continuing their course regardless of whether clouds obscure them from view. Remember, you are not here to avoid life's challenges, but to meet them with unchangeable strength. You are not here to escape the waves, but to break them by your very immovability. You are not here to find shelter from storms, but to become the shelter that others seek during storms. Be the rock. Not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. Not because it will prevent waves from coming, but because it will prevent them from moving you. Not because it will eliminate challenges, but because it will demonstrate how they should be met. Teach by example, not argument. The most powerful teaching occurs not through words, but through living demonstration. As emperor, I discovered that no edict, no proclamation, no argument, however eloquent, could match the persuasive power of simply embodying the principles I wished others to embrace. Your life is your most compelling argument. Picture yourself as a master gardener. You could spend hours explaining the proper way to tend plants, detailing techniques and theories. Or you could simply work in your garden, letting others observe how you prepare the soil, how you handle the plants, how you respond to challenges. Which method would teach more deeply? Most people attempt to influence others through endless argument, through persistent persuasion, through relentless rhetoric. They speak of virtue, but do not embody it. They advocate principles, but do not Live them. They forget that the loudest teaching is silent. It is the simple demonstration of truth in action. I have watched skilled orators fail to change a single mind, despite their eloquence. I have seen quiet practitioners transform entire communities simply by living their principles consistently. The difference lies not in the power of their arguments, but in the authority of their example. Consider how nature teaches. The sun does not argue about the importance of giving light. It simply shines. The tree does not lecture about growth. It simply grows. The river does not debate about its path. It simply flows. Each teaches profound lessons through simple demonstration. But understand this well. Teaching by example does not mean performing for others' benefit. It means living your principles so deeply, so consistently, that your very existence becomes a lesson. Like a master craftsman whose every movement demonstrates their skill, your every action should reflect your wisdom. Think of how children learn their most important lessons, not through lectures or arguments, but through observing and imitating those around them. They absorb what you demonstrate far more readily than what you attempt to teach through words. The same principle applies to all human learning. When you feel the urge to argue or persuade, pause. Ask yourself, could this truth be better demonstrated than explained? Could this principle be better shown than told? Could this wisdom be better embodied than argued? Often the most powerful response is simply to live what you wish to teach. Train yourself to teach through action rather than argument. Want to promote patience? Be patient, especially when tested. Wish to encourage courage? Face challenges bravely. Hope to inspire kindness? Practice it consistently. Your example will teach more powerfully than any words could. Remember, people may doubt what you say, but they believe what you do. They may question your arguments, but they trust your actions. They may resist your persuasion, but they cannot deny the evidence of a life well lived. The deepest teaching happens through demonstration. In your daily life, focus on embodying your principles rather than explaining them. Let your response to difficulty teach resilience. Let your handling of success teach humility. Let your treatment of others teach respect. These silent lessons speak louder than any verbal instruction. Let others exhaust themselves with arguments and explanations. Let them try to force wisdom through words alone. Attempt to teach virtue through pure rhetoric. You know better. You understand that the most powerful teaching comes through quiet demonstration. Your life should be like a well-tended garden that teaches simply by existing, demonstrating the principles of growth, the wisdom of patience, the reward of consistency. Kari, your conduct should be like a masterfully performed art that teaches simply by being witnessed, showing the harmony of skill, dedication, and practice. Remember, you are always teaching whether you intend to or not. Every action you take, every response you make, every choice you demonstrate becomes a lesson for those around you. The only question is, what are you teaching through your example? Teach through living, not through endless explanation, but through consistent demonstration, not through forceful argument, but through faithful example, not through words alone, but through the undeniable evidence of principles put into practice. Conclusion: calm is the true crown of the emperor. At the close of this discourse, understand this final truth. The true mark of sovereignty is not the crown upon your head, but the calm within your mind. As emperor, I wore the purple, commanded legions, and ruled vast territories. Yet I discovered that the greatest power, the true imperial dignity, lay not in external authority, but in the cultivation of unshakable inner peace. Picture yourself atop the highest tower of life's citadel. From this vantage point, you can see all the chaos and complexity that once seemed so overwhelming. But now, elevated by understanding, you recognize that true mastery lies not in controlling these external events, but in maintaining your serenity. Regardless of what unfolds below, most seek power over others, over circumstances, over the unpredictable tides of fortune. They chase external crowns, forgetting that the most meaningful sovereignty is internal. They attempt to rule the world while remaining slaves to their own reactions, their own emotions, their own untamed thoughts. I have seen men achieve the highest offices yet remain beggars in their souls, constantly seeking approval, constantly disturbed by criticism, constantly afraid of losing their position. I have known others who, though commanding nothing but their own minds, possessed a dignity that no external force could diminish. Consider the deepest truths we have explored together, that obstacles become opportunities through perspective, that pain has limits while fear is boundless, that service performed calmly surpasses service done with drama, that inner stillness outweighs external turbulence. These are not merely philosophical concepts. They are the practical tools of genuine sovereignty. But understand this well. The calm I speak of is not passive resignation. It is not weak submission to fate. It is the active, powerful serenity of one who understands the true nature of things and refuses to be disturbed by what cannot be changed or distracted by what does not matter. Think of how the depths of the ocean remain perpetually calm while storms rage on the surface. This is your model for true power, not the power to prevent storms, but the power to maintain your depths in perfect tranquility, regardless of surface conditions. When you face life's challenges, from the smallest daily irritation to the greatest personal crisis, pause. Remember that your response to events demonstrates your true level of sovereignty. The crown of calm sits steady only on the head of one who has mastered their own nature. Train yourself to find calm in increasingly challenging situations. Begin where you are, with the small disturbances of daily life. Practice maintaining tranquility when plans fail, when others disappoint, when circumstances oppose your preferences. Each moment of maintained calm is a jewel in your true crown. Remember, external power is always temporary, always dependent on circumstances beyond your control. But the power of calm, the ability to maintain your center regardless of external chaos, this is sovereignty that cannot be taken from you. In your daily life, let calm be your signature, your mark of true nobility. Not the fake serenity of one avoiding challenge, but the genuine tranquility of one who can face anything without losing their center. Not the false peace of escape, but the true peace of engagement with life on its own terms. Let others chase external markers of power. Let them seek their worth in titles, their security in possessions, their peace in controlling the uncontrollable. You know better. You understand that true power lies in maintaining calm, regardless of external circumstances. Your serenity should be like the mountain silence, not imposed from without, but arising naturally from unshakable depths. Your calm should be like the sky's vastness, unchanged by the weather that passes through it. Remember, the true emperor is not the one who rules the most territory, but the one who maintains sovereignty over their own nature. Not the one who commands the largest armies, but the one who has mastered their own reactions. Not the one who builds the highest walls, but the one who remains unshaken regardless of what approaches. Wear this crown of calm, not because it is easy, but because it is royal. Not because it is common, but because it is noble. Not because it grants escape from life's challenges, but because it allows you to meet them with genuine sovereign power.